The film tells the story of Bruno, an 18-year-old man who is deported from the United States back to Mexico after a minor traffic offense despite having lived in the U.S. since he was 5. The opening shows his immediate painful separation from his life in Texas, including a frantic, tearful phone call to his mother, Martha. The immigration officer confirms his deportation to Ciudad Juarez and warns him that legal re-entry will be virtually impossible. Arriving in Mexico, Bruno is disoriented and alone. He finds a temporary place to stay at a shelter in Mexico City run by a woman named Josefina who limits his stay to 1 week. He calls his mother, assuring her he found the shelter and is okay, though the call is punctuated by the jarring reality of his new environment. Desperate for money, Bruno applies for a job at a call center. The manager, Consuelo, hires him because of his native-level English but pays him a pittance in pesos. She establishes a strict demoralizing rule: the call only ends when the customer hangs up. Bruno's days become an exhausting, repetitive cycle of cold calling Americans trying to sell credit and enduring hang-ups and abuse. One night, while on a mandatory call, Bruno connects with a young woman named Lucia. She is preoccupied, having dropped her tablet Bertha into the bathtub and is blow-drying it. Initially annoyed by the mandatory sales pitch, Lucia quickly realizes Bruno's restriction and uses the opportunity to talk, asking him for advice on how to save her tablet. The answer: put it in rice for 36 hours. The interaction breaks the monotony for Bruno and an unlikely intimate conversation begins. Lucia reveals she is in Houston to see doctors about her severe headaches, though she lives in Mexico City. Bruno confesses he's from Alvin, Texas, near Houston, but is now stuck in Mexico City following his deportation. The shared proximity to Houston, a place Bruno longs for, instantly bonds them. Their conversation flows from lighthearted Lucia naming her tablet to feel less alone, joking about chicken soup vs. Adolf Hitler as a baby name, to profoundly personal. Bruno reveals the unfairness of his deportation over running a red light and the trauma of crossing the border as a 5-year-old, remembering only the lights on a small boy's shoe that guided them through the desert. The two teenagers stay on the line all night, talking for hours. Lucia eventually gives Bruno her number. Later their bond deepens when Lucia reveals she's staying at the Three Shapes Hotel in Houston. Bruno remembers his mother, Martha, a hairdresser, used to work near there, and tells Lucia a hack to get free ice cream from the hotel vending machine. He then asks Lucia to visit his mother at Julia's hair salon, telling her to ask for Martha Flores and give her a hug from him. Lucia, though initially resistant to giving hugs, agrees. The next day, Consuelo, the call center manager, interrupts Bruno's call with Lucia. She accuses him of using the work phone for unethical personal matters. Thinking quickly, Bruno claims Lucia is his girlfriend whom he hasn't seen in 2 months and that they were role-playing as strangers. Consuelo, a surprisingly empathetic figure, reveals her own long-distance relationship with a man named Mike and forgives Bruno on the condition he not do it again. She then advises him to play Kilometros by Sin Bandera for Lucia when he misses her, as it's a hymn to long-distance relationships. Soon after, Lucia arrives in Mexico City and surprises Bruno at the call center. Consuelo, overjoyed, celebrates their reunion and plays Kilometros for them. Lucia presents Bruno with a duffel bag of gifts from his family, a signed baseball glove, beef jerky, his sister's earphones, and a hug sent back from his mother, Martha, proving she had followed through on his request. With Bruno's week at the shelter up, Lucia takes him on a whirlwind tour of Mexico City. She playfully trains him for his new life, instructing him to use his 5 senses to navigate the city's chaos, from separating the sounds to smelling the street corn, joking that it has smog and volcanic ash. She tests his fight or flight with a mock seismic alarm and encourages him to try cow tongue tacos. She takes him to a massive rooftop vantage point, telling him the city is his new home, a huge place where he can find his place. When Bruno expresses fear, she tells him not to be scared, saying it's your home. Bruno, still longing for Alvin, hesitantly resists. As they part ways at the subway, Lucia realizes Bruno lied about having a place to stay when he struggles to name an actual street in the north part of the city. Concerned, she tells him to come with her. They arrive at an apartment full of rescued cats. Lucia introduces Bruno to her best friend Mate and the 9 cats, including her cat Kiki. Lucia jokes that Bruno, who is allergic to cats, is the 10th rescue. Despite the underlying current of Lucia's vague illness and Bruno's displacement, the film ends with the two of them together finding a tentative new beginning in the heart of the huge, chaotic city. Following the whirlwind day exploring Mexico City, Lucia brings Bruno back to her apartment where her best friend Mate and her 2 mothers, Carmen and Raquel, are introduced. The initial conversation is tense as Bruno, self-conscious about his deportation and job, stumbles over the truth, leading Lucia to nervously cover for him by calling him her second cousin. Later, while showing Bruno the campus of the National Autonomous University of Mexico, UNAM, Lucia gifts him a study guide for the engineering entrance exam, pushing him to rebuild his life. Bruno, overwhelmed by her generosity, confesses that his deportation wasn't for a minor traffic violation but for attempting to steal a cell phone. He admits he was an idiot who wanted to mess up because without papers he felt he had to be perfect. He sees himself as having lost his home, his family, and his future. Lucia reassures him, telling him he has friends now and there's no use in blaming himself. Mate, Lucia's friend, later confronts Lucia about how seriously ill she is, urging her to stop pretending everything is fine for Bruno's sake. Lucia insists that if Bruno knew the severity of her condition, it would make saying goodbye even harder. That night Lucia finds some Yankee pot for Bruno, helping him feel more at home. They share a tender, intimate moment, but Lucia, overwhelmed, pushes him away, saying let's be friends, before retreating into her room as her mothers listen anxiously from outside. Bruno, feeling trapped and hopeless in Mexico, overhears a group of men talking about crossing the border illegally by jumping in El Diablo, a train that crosses through Mexicali. His call center friend Jackie secures the money for the trip and asks Bruno to join. Despite the obvious danger, Bruno agrees, determined to go back home to Alvin. Maid insists that Bruno must tell Lucia before he leaves. The next day, as Bruno is about to tell her, Lucia interrupts, dragging him on a spontaneous bike ride. She senses his plan and confesses her hatred of mangoes, her insignificant ex-boyfriends, and the story of her childhood kite Benjamin, to illustrate that he doesn't know anything real about her. Frustrated, Bruno shouts that he is going back to Texas, and Lucia snaps, asking, "What do you want to hear then?" "That I am going to die." She reveals the full tragic extent of her illness. The fight breaks their tension and they reconcile. Bruno tells her he wants to be with her. They share a passionate night together, cementing their relationship. Lucia later shows Bruno the streaks on her head, explaining it's an arteriovenous malformation which started as a little spider and has grown into a tarantula. She says it will keep growing, but then asks him to help her get a new kite, a twin to her childhood kite Benjamin. Together they fly the kite, a symbol of hope and defiance against the odds, right before Bruno gets a confirmation text from Jackie about the crossing. He cancels the crossing, choosing to stay with Lucia. Lucia's health rapidly declines. She has a severe episode where she is cold and pale. Despite her insistence that she is fine and doesn't want to go to a hospital, Bruno and mate force her to go. At the hospital, Lucia meets with her doctor alone. He confirms her condition is worsening and the medication is less effective. He suggests trying the experimental Houston protocol again, which only has an 8% chance of working. Lucia is exhausted and refuses, stating she is tired of hospitals and just wants to go home. Bruno, however, insists she cannot give up. He reminds her of their unlikely meeting and how she helped him build a new life when he thought everything was lost. He tells her 8% can be enough. Moved, Lucia agrees to give the Houston treatment another try, asking Bruno to take her jersey signed by Fernando Valenzuela and Duke Snyder back to his parents in Alvin if she dies. Bruno refuses, stating they will meet in a week to celebrate his passing the engineering entrance exam. As Lucia leaves for Houston, Bruno prepares for his exam. While he is taking the test, Lucia has a crisis and is rushed to intensive care. Carmen leaves Bruno a devastating voicemail. Desperate to get to her, Bruno tries to board a train, but the ticket taker refuses him entry. In a last-ditch effort, he trades the signed baseball jersey, his one physical link to his American home, for a ride on a van. The final emotional farewell is over a video call. Lucia, weak and resigned, tells him he is crazy and that he won't make it in time. Bruno insists he doesn't care about the danger, telling her, "I fucking hate that I'm not there with you." Lucia responds that he is there. She confesses that spending time with him changed everything for her and that he helped her build a new life when she thought hers was over. She tells him, "You are my home." He echoes her words, and as she holds the phone to her heart so he can hear it, she tells him she loves him and reminds him of their first rule: it is forbidden to hang up. Bruno is seen in the back of the speeding van trying to reach her as the camera focuses on the unended call. The film concludes with Bruno attending university class, remembering Lucia's voice: "We stay alive when someone remembers who we are becoming. I remember you, stranger. I remember everything." The call is never disconnected, symbolizing their enduring bond despite the finality of Lucia's illness. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.